Everyone. Good evening. So we're gonna start with the event tonight. So it's gonna be Building Brand Communication by Anastasiia, and she's gonna be here to facilitate the talk. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to just ask away during the talk. But just make sure you raise up your hands, just to make sure that everyone here can ask their questions, and also so we can pass around the extra microphone so everyone online is able to check the event out as well. And we're going to be streaming it actually on our YouTube channel today. So if you want to check out the streaming or recommend it to anyone, just tell them to check out the Dojo Bali YouTube channel. And if you also want to stay afterwards to ask any questions privately, feel free to do so, as Anastasia will be here to answer questions after the event. And that's it for me. Hope everyone enjoys. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Anastasiia, whatever you can pronounce it. I'm from Kiev, Ukraine, and so this is my first lecture I'm conducting in English. So just don't even bother to follow my mistakes. That's not working. So like who I am, right now I'm head of communications in IT company called Jenga Stars, and simultaneously I'm editor-in-chief in content platform called Product Tribe. It's for everyone involved in product development and growth. I'll tell a bit more about that because it's a non-profit project which might be interested to you actually also. So like I also teach copywriting. So my main skill is writing. So if you have some questions about it, I'm happy to answer it like after, maybe not even about my topic of my presentation. So like today we'll talk about building brand communication. Oh yeah, I'm the funny one. So I have a lot of memes I've made for this presentation. So like just sorry for that. Even like talking about sociopath, I just like these mental games. That's why I'm using these kind of things. So we'll talk today about communications. Communication sucks. Like really, like we all suck at communication at some point. Here is this very pathetic visual. Sorry. So like short story. I was at a party. I was chatting with some guy from France, and we were playing Never Have I Ever. And he added me on Facebook. He texted me something, and I answered with I thought it's very funny, but I'm like combined avocado and sex in one sentence. And he never replied, because even if you're head of communication, you still suck at communication, because we are humans. Yeah, because this is communication, and that's all of us, and it's brands I'm talking about today. So kind of my main idea of my story today is like that we're humans, we are not perfect. And if you try your brand to be better than humans, it's bad, because that's just not working. So I will like repeat it, I think, several times, that communication on behalf of the brand shouldn't differ from the communication among people. And I'll try today to show you some common mistakes I usually see in communication on behalf of brands, and mostly digital products, because I mostly work in this sphere, not like with mass market project, because it's a bit different. But like I would like to talk about these mistakes, and then to tell maybe how you can solve them without a lot of budget and all of that. Yeah. So mistake number one: no clear understanding why people should interact with your brand. The main word here is interact, because why people will buy your product is one thing. Why they will interact with your content is another thing. If you're sending them something, if you like an email or creating an article for them, like, do they really want to interact with it, or you just think that they want it? So here's an example. Yeah, I was in Thailand, and I saw that I'm an Insta blogger, but I'm not. But like someone thought that I'm probably an Insta blogger and sent me this kind of comment. So first of all, I checked what the app is at. So I went to the page, Match My Hobby, and there was a woman doing some yoga moves with some very cheesy quotes on it. And I'm like, okay. And then I understood, I would love your feedback. written on behalf of a company, not a person. So it sounded like this for me, like really who you are, why you want, what you would love my feedback. It's innocent. Don't love my feedback, please. So they tried to be smart. They found me on hashtag solo traveling. They offered me something as to a solo traveler, but it's just not working because they didn't think that through. Because why I would interact with that? Like why I would interact with the content, not with the app. So the next mistake is given false anticipation and reason to believe. That's one of my favorite parts. Is when I had this story when I bought some earphones on Amazon, and they're sending me newsletters kind of, we know you're waiting for our product as children are waiting for Christmas. No, I'm not. Like, you're not so cool. Like, don't make me think about it more. I won't. I'm a human with brain. Like, I won't change my mind, like, and my perception of life because you told me to. So this example I just found, like it's a random newsletter in my email, on my emails. Want to work in the European institutions? No, I don't. Why are you asking me that? It's like, if they made it in different tone of voice, it might work. I might check what is that. But if they're giving, like they're doing it in this way, like my answer is just no. I'm like, I have a job. I don't need this. Different tone of voice in different channels. I've been working with a lot of startups, a lot of small businesses, bigger businesses, and the common mistake is that they want to create different communication, different channels. It's like, oh, we are talking in Facebook, but the audience in LinkedIn is different, so we need to be different there. No, you don't, because there would be different brands if you talk in different tone of voice. You should adapt your content to LinkedIn formats, but you shouldn't be different brand there. So here's actually it took, because I was very disturbed by this. I like Hostel World, like I use it a lot. And then they put Mariah Carey. At first it's like, wow, what's happening here? Why Mariah Carey's Hostel World? So like as a marketer, like I did give fuck about that. So I went to check what is happening. So there is a new kind of campaign that an idea is great, that hostels are changing. Like it's not longer like this, just a place you can crash for a night or like drink beer sitting in on the bed. That it's changing, that a lot of hostels are even better than hotels. And kind of Mariah, like assistant of Mariah Carey, like book the hostel instead of hostel, blah, blah. So it's kind of fun. Okay, like I'm not a fan of these like golden colors, but whatever. But why you still then send me these kind of emails? Thank you for booking with us. You used to be a human in that communication, and somehow you transform into a robot. So we used to be friends. So when they're sending me like content, it's kind of fun. They are giving me pictures of Mariah Carey, sending me like videos and all that, and suddenly they're transforming into this. Like I know how it works. It's just like automatic reply, but you can change like one sentence and it would sound much more in your tone of voice. And yeah, you have this new great campaign with Mariah Carey, and somehow you're posting Vincent van Gogh quotes. Like what is that? Like why? You're Hostel World. You have money. You have people. You have a lot of content. Why you can't do it like as a brand? It's actually a big problem of a lot of booking services. If you take Booking or Agoda or something like that, they're offering you a lot of offers, but it's not a brand. They're not brands, because like for me, just a lot of different offers and that's it, because they're not creating value for me besides giving me discounts. So the first problem is like not paying attention to change in the society. What I'm kind of trying to explore right now, like working a lot with digital products, is how the pattern of behavior is changing. Before, I used to work in advertising agency with like these mass market brands and all that. It's totally different world, because they're like, it's about products which you can buy in supermarket. But there is digital products like apps and services, which are the part of our lives. Some of them we use every day. So if the communication is not how we really live, it's weird. So what I like this example. So when you say happy family, usually what you think of, maybe if you're not, you're the king of the world, because I think most of the people still do. They imagine white family with 2 kids. So this is the image of happy family. Among 8 photos, only 1 is not white. I just Google it. It's just like simple first idea that came up into my mind. Because we've been under these patterns created by marketers also, that all this, that happiness kind of, and a lot of other stuff, I just took this because it's like the simplest example. Happiness looked like it, but it's not. It doesn't appeal to the most of the population of the world, because people are not white and not all of them want this kind of happiness. And somehow we're still using and pursuing this kind of ideas instead of bringing like the real value and what really people want. Yeah, and it's like it refers more to business owners and startups and all that, that they expect content team to be magicians. Like you should create content and you should sell my product with it. So if you're a good business owner, if you're developing digital product, you're using like customer development approach or whatever, you're validating ideas on every stage. If you don't, in most cases you will fail. The same with content. If you don't test and don't check content, don't improve it, it might not work. That's why if you have a content team or something, you should give them time and a bit of freedom and a bit of money to test content so it worked in the future. But I will talk about it more. Yeah, what to do with all of that. I'll try to catch on mistakes, as said before, with like kind of the way you can improve it. Yeah, I don't know how many of you like used to work with customer personas or something. Did you? Who know what a customer persona is? Okay, so it's a good concept. I like the concept of customer persona, but when it comes to communication, customer persona is not enough, because as for me, you can take it, you can use it, but if you don't make it more human, you basically will talk to like very general amount of like to very generally. You won't understand like what their anticipation is, their fears, their hopes. So it's maybe for the future when you have time, you have this presentation. This is just basic customer persona. And this is some questions I usually ask and teach my students to ask when they're working with different audiences. Because to be like a psycho and to like click your mind to different personalities, it can work after like 10 years of this job. But if you're starting, or if you're starting a business, to understand this like inner thing is very important. It's actually it's a combination, like the idea put in the book about screenwriting by a screenwriter, how to create a character for a movie. And you should remember that what are you doing in marketing and content, you're also creating the same they do in movies or whatever. It's storytelling. Like if you don't have this character on behalf of which you're talking, or you don't have a people, your readers or listeners you're talking to, it won't work. So I think if you want to really to understand how to build a story which sells, you need to learn from kind of screenwriting. That's why I improve it a bit to marketing like needs, and I'm trying to teach my students through it. Maybe it will help you because it's giving you sort of more human customer persona. But the reality is that usually you don't have time to create a customer persona every time you need to create content. It just doesn't exist. This time you don't have it. Like if you build buyer customer persona when you started building your product, it doesn't mean that you can do it with every channel you're starting working with. So what I really recommend, if you don't have a huge marketing team and if you don't like have a researcher who can do all the job for you, just do kind of these simple things. Use what you already know. It refers more to copywriters and marketers right now, because what I usually face in the job of copywriters and marketers is that they're trying to to create something which doesn't exist. That's what I was talking before, that all these stories which are supposed to be true but they're not. Instead of using what you already know, we're all humans. Like, even if it's different target audiences or something like that, what is similar between us is emotions, and emotions sell. It's like, I usually tell this example, like, how can you write a story about having two sisters if you never had one? Because you, like, I'm the sister. Like, if I needed to write this story, how to have a sister, I can write it because I am the sister. If I don't have anyone, like, I have other friends who are sisters, or my mom could be a sister of someone. Like, I know these stories. I know how emotional it feels. So if I need to write it, if I look around, if I talk to my friends, to friends of the friends, to Facebook or something, I can find an answer how to write this story. So first of all, what you should do is just to think what you already know about your customers, what they're like, fears and hopes, what they like what they're looking for, and and why it's appealing to you, how you can use it. Go to Quora. Like, Quora is I don't remember next. Oh, such a bad screenshot. Sorry for that. So with Quora, it's I'm using it a lot. If I need to work with a new project or it's just a new topic I don't understand totally, I go there. So this screenshot, I think I was looking for information about uh, divorces and people in long-term relationships, because we're working with app which are helping people to keep their relationships and all that kind of therapist in your phone. The client was a piece of shit, so we didn't finish the project, but we did some content which actually worked. And I needed to write this article, this big piece of content, actually, so we can use it in content marketing efforts. I'm single. I don't know how to save marriage, but I know how to love someone, how to break up with someone. Like, I could take in these emotions and then go into Quora to understand how people talk about their divorces, what kind of stories they have, because they're sharing what they're really experiencing. And after hours of investigating it, I could use it to make an article, because I have my emotions and I have real stories from people who are going through what we need them to go through, kind of thing, to sell what we are selling. And the content, for sure, it's another thing. It should be valuable. It's not just combination of words, right? But it's helping a lot, because you can understand how people are talking about the topic you're interested in, which words even they use. Because sometimes if you're working with teenagers, it's hard to understand which language they use. If you go to Reddit, because the next was Reddit, you can find it. Because, and also good in Reddit, that it's still you don't know who the people there. It's, you can go and find some very mindful and very deep insights, because people are sharing some stories. For instance, I've seen when I was working with one lifestyle kind of app, and I was looking for some inspiration, what people do to motivate themselves and to work on their self-esteem. And I found such a horrible stories, and how people are talking about their problems, their inner problems, and how other people are trying to help them. And that's the bunch of insights you can just go and find on the subreddit. It's which the same as your topic, kind of thing. And also talk to the relevant communities. Usually when I need some feedback, especially it's good for feedback. If you're doing some tech startup or something, there is growth hackers, indie hackers. You can just go there and ask a question. People usually answer it because they're the same as you. You can go to Facebook groups. You can go to LinkedIn groups. Usually it's very easy. You just go there and just post what, and just if you're truthful, if you're not trying to sell something, if you're really looking for a feedback or want just to share your product, people will like support you and will answer your questions. So that's no money, just time. It's just like several hours to do that. Yeah, this is an example. We were working with some like scientific-based tech startup. So this story I wrote for our inbound marketing efforts. Like, I'm not 42 years old, right? And I'm not thinking about aging. But this story is about telomeres. If you know, like telomeres can show you how, like, if you're aging fast or not and all that. So now it's becoming kind of this lifestyle science, I don't know. And this product is like that. So we were working with them and we were trying to understand how actually people react to it. Do they understand what telomere is or not? Like what they think about it. And to make it, we needed like a story to write so we can gather some feedback. And actually these like 39 comments in this post and other comments in several other posts in different subreddits made us understand what really people know and don't know about it. So we could change our communication and make them understand us better. So yeah, and this story for sure, like to write it, I needed to make my own research to understand how people talk about that, yeah, and which words they use. And also I'm Ukrainian, not American. Like for me to understand it, I need to explore like specific words, how they make jokes and all of that to write it. It's, again, it's just time, it's not money. Someone asked me in Facebook, I don't know if the person is here, how to create video or social content with low budget. I can say that this is an example. You just need a person who can create a story, because that's the main thing. You don't need to put a lot of budget into content. You need someone who can make this content. Yeah, and it's also an example. I was talking about the app. So we used it, yeah, to understand how people react. So here we share the article I wrote, and there we were sharing, don't remember, also an article. But kind of upvotes can tell you if you are right or no. So like if you really understood what people are looking for. So if it's like more than 200 upvotes, I think it's, yeah, we kind of hit the point. Okay, the next one, which was about creating false anticipation. So using real life stories. I was telling you about like you're waiting for my product as your kids are waiting for Christmas. It's like it's false anticipation. And what you should do is to understand what my memes is talking about here, that your customers can be much more smarter than you think and than you. So even if you're showing them something which is like not terrible, you're not doing anything wrong, but it's just useless. Like they could go with it like once or maybe twice, but after several times they will just like, why I'm looking at it like all the time? I had so many these useless newsletters in my emails. I just unsubscribed to everything because the service and apps were okay, but their content were useless for me. I didn't get anything from it. Like, why should I interact with it at all? So like if talking about real based, like real stories, what I'm trying to do now in my platform, it's like screenshot from our content platform, is to make jokes and to make them kind of real. For instance, let's be honest, the first thing you see in the morning is not your beloved's face, it's the alarm on your smartphone. It's just simple joke, but what I'm trying to do with it is this image of partners, you're waking up and he loves you and he's bringing you coffee and all of that. Oh my God, that's so old school. You just like, everyone uses smartphones and all. Like if you're talking to busy people and something like that, it's usually how they start their day. It's a joke for sure, but if it's a real base story, it's not something like romantically. And yeah, that's an example. I'm showing my own examples because I think that's useless to show someone else's examples when I'm talking about building communication. So this article I wrote also, it was the beginning of content marketing campaign for one application for children and parents. And the same, I needed to, I used to have my agency. So I was kind of co-founder of the agency, but because no one could deal with that, I usually was starting the first like content piece and then giving it to writers so they can use it later. So this one was the first article, actually, in pretty successful campaign. It was about relationship between like parents and children. The topic of it, it's because we made a research in Google and all that on keywords, what the people are looking for and all that. So it's not just because we came up with ideas, it's kind of what parents are really interested in. But to make it work, like to build a story around it, I did the same. I started making research in different, like in Reddit, in Quora, and everywhere, like talking to parents I know. What are the fears like? Yeah, if you want to I know, follow your child in Snapchat, why? Like, yeah, what's the reason? Because it's not just protection. And if you want to follow, like, how you will do it, and what's actually your insights and things like that. And I came to the conclusion that one of the insights here are that, okay, when your child is 6 or like 2 or 6, you can tell like your view of life and they will listen to you because that's understandable. But when they're growing up, will your child come to you when she or he or they are like 30 years old? Will they still trust you? Can you manage to build such kind of relationship in the childhood so this child will come back to you when she's your age or he? So I use this kind of insight to build a story about Snapchat, because that's what you should do. That's the real life of real parents, not something like happy family sitting all together having dinner, because building a relationship with your child is much more deeper than what people usually talk about. And especially when you, again, if it's digital product, if it's an application which you use every day, it should really, really understand you and talk to you the way you really live. Okay, this is sit and write down your positioning, tone of voice, content guide. You can write at least one of it. It will be already great. But somehow people don't do it, which is weird for me, especially in talking about positioning. It's just 3 or 4 or 5 sentences, which can really help you. That's what I usually try to do when I'm working with a new product. I'm trying to write it down, at least for a team inside, to understand what we are working for. And when someone is asking me what your product is about, I'm not like starting telling this long story of like, I know, pitfalls and how it was hard and I almost died when I was working on it. It's not that. You need to, if you can explain your idea in like several sentences, your idea is bad. So like you should check yourself and sit and write down so at least your team could use it. But also it can protect you, you know, because there are a lot of people are different. If someone don't like what you're saying about, with this kind of document, with your position, with values written there, and use your like with words you're using to, yeah, it's kind of document which can protect yourself. You can show it like, okay, if you don't like it, that means you're just not like our person. Yeah, it helps to stop freaking out. That means I think that a lot of brands still have this idea that they should be perfect. They should have this beautiful tone of voice with no mistakes and all of that. That's kind of not true, because people are changing. They need you. They need to feel you. They may still interact with you a bit if you're like super perfect, but you can do better. But it's more difficult because writing grammarly correct sentences are much easier than to use slang and create jokes. And it helps to build the same brand differential as I was talking about. If you have a positioning, you know who you are. So if you're doing something wrong, like in one channel, you have like a document you can look at. So here's examples. It's more for you maybe to check how I did it. Like for me, it took a lot of energy, but not so much time to write it down. Um, so this kind of document, first of all, for my content team and for contributors, like as I said, this platform is non-profit, and we just looking for contributors, like whatever you do to write content for us, we'll distribute it for you and all of that. So it's kind of a community we're trying to build. So this one will mostly for my writers and for like contributors we might have in the future. And for sure, I ended with small joke, because that's what I'm really trying to build here, not to be so serious and to make fun of yourself a bit, because that's cool. Like making fun of yourself is cool. And for sure, this is what is important for me. Like being liberal, having liberal point of view, like and worldview, is important. I can't never work with anyone who is not supporting these ideas, and we don't need such kind of people on our platform. They can find another place to write and to share their ideas, but not with us. And this is, I think, this thing what makes a brand. If you have kind of views and you can say no even to your customers if they're wrong and if it's not what you think about the world. Yeah, here you can just see it later. Maybe it will help you if you're working on something like this. Yeah, and this is how you can use, like you have a positioning, you have tone of voice, and how you can use in different channels. So here I used a bit Donald Trump because I really like jokes about him. And here, just like emails, I wrote it by myself to make kind of an example so we can use it in the future. A bit of this like sarcasm kind of thing, like everywhere, just a bit, because that's who we are, and you can't stop us. Yeah, it's on a website. It's just like if you're interested in how to really, that it's easy. If you wrote it down, if you really understand who you are, because you have a place to look at, like you have this document you can be like focus on, it's much easier to create content if you really understand it. Yeah. So, and it's, if someone is working with a content team or with copywriters, so if I did this, so for me it's easier right now to take a copywriter and to explain him what to do next. If I wouldn't do all of that, it will be like he'll start doing everything from the beginning all the time. And it's a common mistake with, like, the same if you're creating articles for a blog. If you don't have a template of a brief or something like that, or examples copywriters can follow, or content writers, you're doing the same job all the time, instead of just making everything works as it is, to make an example and to show it to writers and just to check the result. Oh my god! Again, bad screenshots. If I don't know if anyone heard about PetCube, but was the first startup who had a lot of money on Kickstarter, Ukrainian startup, and they're my friends. Now they're in Silicon Valley and all that. They're pretty cool. Like no one is as cool as them. But the thing is, I really like how they communicate. I used to work with them, and that for me, for sure, like at first I started following them because I know the guys, the co-founders. But after it, I started using this brand for my students as an example. Also, we're doing some projects together. What is good about them? So they have this specific audience, are pet parents, how they call themselves. It's US market, pet parents. And they have this like original language, kind of cars. So they're using this like po, or like they're calling their animal, like pets, kids and their parents. And they have a lot of these super sweet, funny words. I really hope they don't talk like that in real life, but they do talk like that in the internet. When you go to all these forums, whatever website, they're all like this. This pet parents is other community, and PetCube are using it to make this content, and they're using it in every channel, even like here. Just being nice they don't need to do like, it's not about money, it's just supporting someone with what they already have. It's community and products they have. Yeah, I like dogs, but my only dog is my imaginary golden retriever in my imaginary house, but I still follow them because they're fun. Yeah, and this one I think is like the most genius content style guide I've ever seen. Especially it's useful for whatever content you create, because it's about emails, it's about blog, it's about how you communicate with customers. They have everything here, and it's really, really useful. I really started working on my positioning, looking at like MailChimp. It's pretty cool. I have a link to it on the slides, so you might check it out later. And it was made for a team, but they made it public so everyone could learn it, how they did it. Yeah, and I was talking about changing the society and how brands ignore them. For sure, you shouldn't be into politics or something if you're a brand, but you can't pretend that nothing is happening. So there was a story several weeks ago, the biggest IT conference in Ukraine. It's I think it's happening for a decade already. It's the main conference. Everything, all these international speakers. You can show all your technology. Super cool. Everyone is there. This year, some HR agency decided to sell their product on the boobs of the naked girls with body art on IT conference. And you okay, guys, okay, but that's not the worst. The worst was that there was still an argument if it was wrong. And you you have all these stories about sexism. People are the world is talking about it. And you're doing this. It's just not smart if you're a marketer. Even if you're sexist, keep it to yourself. But if you're working with people and people are now talking about it a lot and you're just doing everything wrong, and then you're trying to protect yourself saying that it's beautiful and it's art, it's not. It's it's naked girls. It's not art. So just be smart enough, whatever your views are, but being smart enough with product is very important, because we see how society is changing dramatically and rapidly. If now something is fine, in 2 or 3 years it might change. Do you want your product to exist in 2 to 3 years? If you do, you should be progressive and you should be open-minded, and you should, in your content, you should check it, you should pay attention to it, because otherwise someone will notice it. And if one person hates you, a lot of other people start hating you. Yeah, and it's about that content team is not a group of magicians. You should, marketing is an experiment. If you are not putting money into making mistakes, you won't understand your customers really, how they interact with your content, what they want from you, not from your product as a product, but from your content, which should add them value, as we all know. So here's examples how you can do it. We did it with telomeres, the product I told you. There was we had this study. There were 3 main points. There was something about sports, something about food, and that older dads give their kids longer telomeres. That means if you have a kid when you're older and you're a guy, that means your child will live longer, kind of. So we used all these 3 ideas and test them. So this one worked the best because it's more than 400 upvotes, which is a lot on Reddit when they have a lot of content. So that means that guys really found a support in this study. They were yeah, there was even a comment, now I know what to tell to my mom. Yeah, that's I don't have kids. It's easy. You just it's 1 sentence, and then you have 59 comments, and people are sharing their insight there, and you understand what you should use, which idea you should use in your content. Yeah, the same we did with with the website. For sure, A/B testing, you should check your websites, but here was so easy. It's just, if you want people to buy, to understand what you're selling, you shouldn't say we offer a non-invasive telomere testing service with results available online, because it's like a robot talking to a robot. Just like small, that first of all, what we understood actually from posting all of that in Reddit and Quora, that people don't understand what telomere is. Like when you say telomere testing, like what does it mean? Then okay, telomere length measurement and analysis, because they didn't even understand that telomere are like measured. So like that was like the answer, and also they didn't understand what the main purpose of telomeres. And actually, it's proven biomarker of biological age. That's the main thing in telomeres, and it's scientifically based information. Because other things like which are using now in lifestyle, just like I don't know, in lifestyle articles and all that, that might not be true. So we change it, and I think we just like, we didn't have a lot of subscribers, but we sent some emails to maybe several hundred people, and we got like some purchases, like 5 purchases I think in 2 days, just because we changed emails and then we changed here. And like it was the first people ever bought it, not like institutions or universities, which means that without changing the product but changing communication, you can like change the direction of it, like totally. Yeah. And how much time do I have? And the most important, I think here, you need to entertain people. If you're a brand and you're dull, you know, that's not working. Because for me, what I think, I might be wrong, but what I think that if you're building a brand, your brand should be so cool that people want to go to bar and drink wine with it, you know? It should be so human, and people don't go to drink wine with someone who is dull, you know, if unless they're like, I know, you're a poet and you want to suffer a bit and like go to the bar to suffer together. But usually you're looking for someone who is the same as you. Maybe both of you are dull, but it's not working as a wipe, you know. It's like it's working on the kitchen somewhere like in your apartment. You should entertain, you know, the 3 main triggers in humans' behavior, like 2 actually. It's love and death, like sex and death, and also it's fun. You shouldn't use death here, because that's in marketing it won't work. It's like maybe in political games it is working, but not here. You should use love and fun to entertain people. It's not just about being funny, like super sarcastic. It just might think what I use. It might be something else. Your target audience may be super romantic, and you can be super romantic with them, or whatever you choose, whatever works. Actually, yesterday the guy was conducting a lecture here. He was showing the same picture. I just saw it. I was like running here and I saw it. Just if you follow some brands, I really like what Spotify do, because they have very funny, like it's so easy. The same about like a budget on communication. That's a job of one copywriter. Like someone just sat down and just wrote it down. And yeah, the same here. They're doing like every year they have kind of new ideas, and it's just so easy. Just sit and write it down. You have some data which is easy to get, because it's Spotify. It's like you work in Spotify and you just write it down. Yeah, and for sure the hustle. It's like the best newsletter in the world. They're just sending you newsletters every few days, I think, or every week. And they have this funny, it's a news kind of thing. And the only thing they have is newsletters. They don't have any website. They just send in newsletters, and they're hilarious. And they have like huge amount of subscribers, because everyone is getting their business and marketing news from here, because it's much more fun than reading just media, because it's still news, but in a better way. Yeah, and it's just example of Client Boost. It's a company who are doing some PPC for clients or something. I just ran into them somehow, and they're like so funny. I'm just following them everywhere. I don't like. They're somewhere in US. I don't know them, but I feel like I do. They sending me newsletters from different people of the team. Like they're like so nice, so personnel, so funny, and this description of their team is just hilarious. And I really want to go and drink wine with these guys. That means like they are doing a great job. Uh, yeah, there's just something to read when you have the presentation. You can like check out this hustle mission concept style guide. HubSpot content link client boost blog. It's like what is great, and if you subscribe it, you can have some good pieces of content from there because they're both great in newsletters and in all these lead magnets, especially HubSpot. They're doing a lot of short kind of books and like different types of content. You can choose what is yours, like marketing, sales, or something else. Contently it's a service, but they have a good blog like about strategic content, which is great. And Client Boost blog, it's about PPC, about landing pages, and they're very personal, sometimes very funny, and it's easy to read. Okay. And some tools I use kind of every day, which might be useful. Human app is just for people who write text. It's helping you to improve readability and like just showing you some mistakes. It's not just about grammar mistakes. It's about how it's written. But be careful. Pay attention to how they what they showing you. There is a grade, so it doesn't mean if you have like 10th grade that it's good, because they are showing it in the way a child in, for instance, the 10th grade could understand your text. So if it's starting from 10, that means that your text is too complicated. Yeah, so you just like be careful, like not be careful, it's everything is okay with that. Just write what they mean, like really pay attention to what is written. Cost schedule headline analyzer. Like cost schedule is a great service as it is, but they have these good like headline analyzer. If you're writing articles, especially, they're giving you a lot of tips. How can you improve it? They have even like big PDF with a lot of different words, like strong words, emotional words. It's kind of the way people perceive different types of words and what is better work for Google. And Ahrefs we use for SEO from all of our projects because it's very easy. It's not so expensive. And sometimes I use it along with Quora and Reddit and all of that just to search how people are like thinking about different topics, like because it's about keywords on different markets. You can just change markets, change keywords, and understand how people are like searching all of that. And Yoast for SEO, it's also, especially if you have a blog or a content platform, you can check everything like regarding SEO and readability and a lot of different tools. And it's super comfortable and convenient because it can be just a plugin to your blog. So you don't need to go to another service. It's already in your admin zone if you're using like, I don't know, WordPress or something like that. Yeah, so you don't forget. Well, like I was just talking a lot here. So everything is about being human when you're communicating, even if you're doing mistakes in your communication. If it's not mistakes about calling someone, I know, N-word or a bitch or something, you'll be fine. Just don't be, because yeah, if you're not doing that, and then next and last meme for today. Yeah, you probably will. Serial killer will have better communication skills than your product because they don't know much about emotions. So if your product doesn't know about emotions, you're kind of on the same level. And that's it. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, questions? So we have like 9 minutes and even more. Yeah, so.
You mentioned product propositioning. You have a few examples which in your view is very good.
What do you mean, product?
I think there was a slide up there with product propositioning as one of the first things to get right.
I don't really understand what you're talking about. Like, which products are making good communication, you mean? Or what?
Yeah.
Well, I was showing some here, like for sure I have a lot. But because, I'm not just a common customer, because I'm a marketer and I'm always looking deeper into communication. For me, like, I'm not the best person to follow it with, I guess.
Sorry, you had a slide which were like saying 3 sentences about your product you need to get right. So I was just wondering what would be a good example in your view?
I really don't know what slide. Stop me.
All right. Keep going. Stop.
This?
Yeah, so what would be an ideal propositioning? Like, do you have any good examples of
like positioning, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, positioning, I can't say that there is ideal example of positioning. Positioning it's kind of a combination what your audience is expecting for you and who you are. Like when you're combining it and you're writing it down like in 3 sentences, that's your positioning. I can't say that it can be wrong or right. It's like, it's who you are. If you create a product and you really can't write it down, it's bad. Like, it's just like you did something wrong here. So it's not about having a cool positioning. It's having the positioning which is truthful. I think so. And position is not always, for communication with customers. Sometimes it's just inner information you keep within your team, but you can use it and you can explain it to other people and you can answer a question like in 10 seconds who you are and who what your product is. So I think so. Okay. Yeah, ready.
Thank you. Wait, I wanted to ask you, we were talking with some people who do copywriting, and they were telling us, for example, when we write emails and we say, oh, we have created something special, something like this. They say you shouldn't say we, you should say you. Do you also think so?
That means when you're not telling why you're great, you're telling why people should kind of like you, So if you not like we made, but I can't come up with an example right now, but like going from the needs of the people, if for instance you're building landing page, don't start, we are this kind of great company doing this kind of good shit. Like, no, it's like more about like you feel like this and we are the company who can make you feel better or something like that. So it's like you should come from the insides of the person, like not from your company, like why you're so cool. Yeah, so it's correct. Okay, I guess that's it. If you have some more specific questions, I'll be here. I think more like an hour or an hour and a half. You can ask me. Yeah, and thank you.